to the front, we have some of our shop local bumper stickers. Feel free to take 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever you'd like, just pass them out. Even though we are fortunate that the economy is starting to show some nice signs of recovery. In fact, I read an article out of Central Florida just before I came here that showed that for the 7th consecutive month their real estate stats are on the rise. So generally when that happens there, good things follow here. So stay optimistic, but we don't want to let up on supporting our local merchants. So please continue doing so. Test, better. All right. Well, thank each of you very much for coming to the Cherokee Scout and Andrew Journal 2012 Political Forums for the Tuesday, May 8th primary election. I'm your moderator, David Brown, publisher of the Scout and Journal. With me is our timekeeper, editor Robert Horn. We'd like to thank Clerk of Court Roger Gibson for making the courtroom available tonight, as well as Tim Radford of WKRK AM 1320, who's recording the forums and will be airing them on the radio at a future date for those who weren't fortunate enough to be here. Every associate at the Scout has a great deal of respect for those who seek to serve Cherokee County in elective office. It's not an easy job. It certainly requires a lot of sacrifice, as they've already learned. With that in mind, I ask each of you tonight to also respect the candidates by politely turning off your cell phones or at least putting them on vibrate if you're expecting an important call. If you have to get up during the forum, please move as quietly as possible. And to get in as many questions as we can in an allotted time, please hold your applause until after each candidate's closing statement. Tonight we have 2 separate forums for your political insight. For the next hour, we'll be hearing from all 7 active Republican candidates for the 2 new at-large seats on the County Commission. Starting about 7:30, we'll talk with 3 of the 4 Democratic candidates for commission. Our goal is simple. We just want to help you make a more informed decision when you go to the ballot box. Who you vote for is not as important as the fact that you did your own due diligence and research and made a good decision. Tonight, the ground rules are simple. Each candidate will have 1 minute or up to 1 minute to make an introductory remarks. The candidates will have 1 to 2 minutes each to answer questions, all that were submitted by readers and compiled by the Scout. Each candidate will then have 1.5 minutes to make a closing statement. No candidates were given the questions beforehand. All of the questions came from readers of your local newspapers. In an effort to be as fair as possible, all candidates will answer the same questions in the same time frame, and we will rotate among who responds first each time. To help the candidates stay on track, Robert will ring the bell once, with 15 seconds remaining, so you can wrap up your thoughts, but just don't stop, keep going, you got 15 more seconds. When Robert hits the bell twice, your time is up. We ask each candidate to be respectful of the other's time. As mentioned, our first forum tonight is with our 7 active Republican candidates. The reason I say that is because the names of Richard Gray, Danny Slusher, and Wayne Ward will still be on the ballot, but they have asked us to let you know that they are not campaigning for office. The 2 top vote getters in the GOP primary will face the 2 top Democratic vote getters in the Tuesday, November 6th general election. We drew numbers before starting, and conveniently for those of us who like alphabetical order, Eddie Adams drew the right number and will give the first 1-minute opening statement. Okay.
My name is Eddie Adams, and I am a candidate for Cherokee County Commissioner at seat at large. I'm from Andrews. I am a native of Cherokee County, and I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Army, serving with the 9th Infantry Division as a combat veteran. I attended Andrews High School and moved on into Tri-County Community College later. Served on several boards, appointed boards by the county commissioners and mayors for several years, and through that made up my decision to run for this. I'm married with 2 boys and 1 grandchild. I'm a member of the Andrews United Methodist Church, and I am a Republican. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Brian Dillon.
My name is Brian Dillon. I live in the Hanging Dog community with my wife Heather, son Zach. We've raised 3 other daughters who are grown and out on their own. I also have the precious thing in my life, my granddaughter. I work for the Cherokee County Building Inspection Department. My purpose for running for the office of County Commissioner is to allow the voters to have a candidate that will be upfront and honest with them in the allocation of their tax dollars. I'm not in the promise-making business, especially when you know and I know they can't be kept and they have no intentions of being met. My position of inspector has allowed me to see areas of the county that lifelong residents have probably never seen, and I deal with every type of citizen, from the multimillionaire to those that are not so fortunate. The key is to treat them all the same, no matter who they are or what their social status may be. I've always believed you can control the dialectic conversation with people if you allow to see things from their side of the fence and realize their side is important to them. My desire is to treat the office of County Commissioner with the utmost respect, as well as treat our citizens with the common sense and compassion they deserve. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to Steve Higgins.
In the 1 minute it takes me to give you this introduction, Cherokee County will spend $7.48 on debt service alone. That's over $3.9 million in the coming year. Good evening. My name is Steve Higdon. I'm a pro-property rights conservative candidate. I was born a Republican. I am a Republican. And I hope someday to die a very old and wealthy Republican. I have the education, experience, and vision to move this county forward. I do not serve on any committee in the county, and I have never been employed by the county. I'm against backdoor deals and reactionary decisions. And as commissioner, I will work well with others, but make my own decisions. Elect me and there will be no need to hire a public relations man, because I can speak for myself, as I did in the recent tax audit issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Ledford.
Just real quick, I'm not going to stand up because my zipper's torn up on my hello everybody. Thank you for being here. Forrest Gump's mama. Everybody's seen Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's mama said something like, "Politicians are like a box of chocolates," or something like that. But along those lines, thanks to David and Robert and the Cherokee Scout for allowing all of you to closely examine this box of, I started to say chocolate-covered nuts. Got a little bit nutty to run for political office. My name is Rick Ledford. I live in the hothouse precinct just west of Ranger School. I'm a former banker, a tax preparer, a licensed teacher, father of 3 kids, married to Stephanie. I guess that's about it.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to C.B. McKinnon.
My name is C.B. McKinnon. I'm seeking the seat for County Commission. I currently live in Marpleboro, been my whole life, with my wife, Benny Jo. I've raised 2 children in this area. I've raised 2 children in this county. They're both one in college and one current finished college. I am a conservative in the truest sense. I believe in limited government. I'm guarded against government interference in our lives. I would appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Allie Mitchell.
My name's Allie Mitchell. As you know, I'm running for commissioner as a Republican, and I believe in 2 things very faithfully: God and country. And I'm running for commissioner because of the way this town can grow is something I want to see happen, and I will make it happen. But I graduated from William & Mary University in Williamsburg, Virginia, and also I graduated from the University of Omaha with an MBA in business and management. Now, the wonderful thing about it is I had 2 years of law school at William & Mary in corporate law, so that will help me read all the things that the commissioners have to read. I just hope I can still interpret it. But at the same token, it's wonderful to be here with you people, and I appreciate your turnout. And thank you, Robert, and thank you, my friend, the publisher, David Brown. My wife and I came here 12 and a half years ago, and we love it here, and we hope to do things better.
Thank you. Cal Stiles, you now have 1 minute for your opening remarks.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cal Stiles. I'd like to give you a little background information about me. I've been married for 45 years to Janet Burnett Stiles. I'm 64 years old. We live in Andrews. We have no children, but do have several cats. I've started and owned and operated 4 successful businesses in Cherokee County. I've served on the advisory board of a local bank. I've served on the finance and trustee committees at church. And I've served in the North Carolina National Guard for 6 years. I attended Young Harris College and Western Carolina University, majoring in business. Currently, I'm retired, and prior to retiring, I spent my adult life here in business. I now have the time to devote to the job of County Commissioner and a sincere interest in working that position for the betterment of our county.
Thank you. For our first question, we will start with Mr. Dillon and then continue moving down to the right. Obviously, every candidate on the ballot recognizes that Cherokee County needs to bring in more jobs. So we're going to start with 2 questions on the economy, both with 90 seconds to respond. First question is, what are your specific plans to bring new and better paying jobs to the county, and what kind of incentives would your plans include? Mr. Dillon?
To the first question, I'm of the mindset that the county commissioner is not necessarily the one that needs to be pursuing jobs. We have employees that are paid handsomely for that purpose. The county commission is basically spread thin enough as it is. They've got their oars in way too many different places in the pond. So we got an economic developer. I think he needs to step up to the plate, do what he can do. Economic Development Board, they need to do what they can do, but as far as the commissioner position seeking jobs, I think we need to lay the groundwork for a fertile area for business to grow, but I do not think we need to go out and court and romance potential employers to come here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hagan?
Question again, please?
What are your specific plans to bring new and better paying jobs to the county, and what kind of incentives would your plans include?
My plans would include tax incentives. My plans would include, there's only so much you can do in a county that's small. I completely disagree with what Mr. Dillon just said. I think that county commissioners, being the 5 that oversee all aspects of county government, should have a big role in looking over the economic development department. And if it's not doing its job, then I think that should be looked into as well. With 800,000 square feet of empty industrial property in Cherokee County and a 14% unemployment rate, I don't think they have a real strong argument that we're doing too well, although they're trying. And I'm not against people, but I am against policy. Some things we can't do here locally is going to have to be done through Raleigh and Washington. Natural gas is the #1 reason this county is not growing, despite all the conspiracy theories you may hear. Natural gas is the #1 reason this county is not growing. I would work to get natural gas moved into the county. I would expect accountability, as Mr. Dillon has mentioned, in all aspects of the county. But I do believe, as a county commissioner, that we should seek low energy intensive industries, call centers. We need to think outside the box. But again, with 15 seconds, and I'll work with business and not against it. You can't do anything if you don't partner with business. Thank you.
Mr. Lefty, the question goes to you.
I think the commissioner's role is to be an active participant in trying to bring jobs to the county. I would want to partner with the economic, can you hear me now? I would want to be involved with the economic development people. By the way, I have been on an economic development team that brought significant industry to a surrounding community. And I also sat on the board of a business and industrial development corporation for several years that did the same thing. I am against tax incentives. You know, I might be talked into it, but I don't necessarily think the taxpayers or the other businesses need to be subsidizing other businesses. Again, I might be convinced otherwise, but I don't see the tax incentive as being a positive thing. And I've made the comment before, the whole complexion of this county, from county government down to just individual citizens, we've got to pick it up. We've got to have a more wholesome image here, because by and large, it's not the corporation that decides to come here. It's the manager of that corporation.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna, the question goes to you.
I feel the number one issue we have in this county with attracting industry would be roads. We're in a bowl. We have gorges at each end of the county. If we can, I intend to work with our state and federal leaders to encourage the finish of Corridor K, to get that road finished. We have monies available in fund to do that, or at least to start that, the completion of it. I would also work with Tennessee and Georgia and those leaders to get these roads finished that we have that we've invested in. It's hard to attract industry when every day on the news they look and there's a tractor trailer upside down in a river. It's hard to convince them that this is the place to be when they can't get their goods in and out of the county. So that's probably one of the biggest things we could do as a commission, is to encourage our leaders to complete the projects we've started and continue with that. One thing that I don't want to discourage business by having new restrictive regulations, different ordinances and things like that. So we want to be active in encouraging business to be here without more bureaucratic interference with those businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
There's money in the Treasury up in Grand County, to have a road, a 4-lane highway, come through Graham County off of I-40 to bring in new jobs and businesses. Now, most of you know that the hub for trucking is in Charlotte, North Carolina, on the East Coast. Now, if we get that trucking over here, where there's not a lot of hazardous situations for road coverage, like happened in the gorge going over to Chattanooga, they had a rock slide, and that rock slide, of course, stopped traffic, for weeks. And it's the same thing through the Nantahala Gorge. If something were to happen there, commerce couldn't get through here at all. So they're trying to figure out a way to come around and bring this business into Graham County and also into Andrews and Murphy, and it can be done. There's a lot of products, that we can't get transported in this part of the country because they don't have the real road access to do it. And I'm all for that. There's a division right now in the works. It's called Corridor K Coalition. And that coalition, of course, has already stated that it's going to run about $383 million, to build this 4-lane highway. I hope it is, and I'm behind it. Thank you.
Mr. Stiles, the question goes to you.
Well, unemployment is a national issue, and so, until the country at large begins to change, it's going to make it even more difficult for us. But as far as local incentives, we're very limited as to what Cherokee County can do. It's based on the number of employees and based on the amount of property tax they pay, which really limits us as what we can do to help. It takes the state. If you notice, the large industries have gone into other areas, the state comes in and helps with that. I think we need to focus somewhat. Having been in the furniture business for several years, Cochran Furniture was the high-end good company down in South Carolina. They're back in North Carolina now because they left there and went to China. They're back here now, starting back because shipping is higher, wages have gone up, quality's not what they want. So we've had furniture businesses here in this area before, manufacturing facilities. We need to look at that. Maybe we need to focus on what we're going after and not use the shotgun approach. And I also think we need to work and assist small companies, 10, 15, 20, maybe retail, maybe a small manufacturing startup operation. We need to work with them, help with the permitting process, help get them on board, put a few people to work. And at the same time, we can't ignore what we have here. We need to work with our existing industries and keep them on board. And then as far as natural gas, that would be a great asset to us, but we also need to expand our infrastructure and have water and sewer available in some other areas, because even though we have a large number of manufacturing plants here, they may not be exactly suitable for some other organization.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
One of the things that concerned me mostly would be that if I'm elected, I would want to blend in with the other 3 commissioners on the board and the 2 that's going to be elected. I think it's important that the Board of Commissioners will be all thinking the same way towards economics. As we all know, that's one of the major issues here is jobs. And some of the issues out there would be the Cherokee County Commissioners are going to have to work together and on specific things to be able to move forward. The other issue would be is I'm very passionate about the road, as they've all mentioned, and the road coming. They have money set aside to start that road. It's not enough to complete the road, but there's money coming in to Raleigh every year to work on that road. If North Carolina, especially Graham County and Cherokee County, don't tap that source and move this road forward, which that's the only place that money could be used for, we will lose it. It will go somewhere else. And that's where I would like to go with that. I'm also inclined to go along with Mr. Higgins here about the gas line. It's important that we get that natural gas into the county. And more importantly, we as commissioners, if elected, we need to get behind our economics director, Mr. Carpenter, and push forward with economics with all the help that we can possibly get. Thank you.
Thank you. For our second question on the economy, we'll also have 90 seconds to respond. We'll start with you, Mr. McGill. With several high-tech businesses already located in the county, what would you do to not only keep these businesses here, but help them expand and grow?
I believe most of that infrastructure is already done through the high-speed internet that we have in the towns. The one thing that I've mentioned in other places throughout the county is we have actually regressed in education in the county. I base that on the fact that in the mid-1990s you could go to Tri-County Community College and you could finish your bachelor's degree via satellite in the college. We can't do that now. Another thing that would help with the high-tech industries, as long as you're in a town, as long as you're in Andrews, as long as you're in Murphy, and even parts of the Hiawassee Dam community, you have high-speed internet. A lot of the county, especially if you get over toward Tennessee, that they do not have the high-speed internet, and it's almost impossible to conduct business, and it is impossible to go online and finish up a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. I would also like to see more cell towers. Some of the cell phones in the county are pretty lousy. I would like to see some more of that and just keep working toward high-tech industry. But the main thing to review is that we need to continue what we're doing, and we need to get internet to all areas of the county, high-speed internet, so that we can keep up with the rest of the world that's already got it.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard.
I go back to, again, the corporations don't necessarily locate in Cherokee County. It's the managers and the people who work for these companies that live here. And I think, like Steve said, education is so important. And quality of our education is still, I think, exemplary, especially compared to other areas in the state of North Carolina. And I think things like recreation, people don't look at ball fields and parks and that sort of thing as necessarily being job attractors, but believe me, yes, they are. They're very important, and I'd like to see much more done here insofar as parks and recreation fields and this, that, and the other to accommodate these managers of these high-tech companies and their children who choose to live here.
Thank you. Mr. McKinnon, question goes to you.
As I'm thinking about this, we're talking about what the county can do to attract business. Most of these things we're talking about is based on a free market principle. With free market principles, demand will dictate the time frame on services. We have high-speed internet in the county, Blue Ridge Mountain EMC. There's startup companies all the time. There's actually a new internet company right now in the process of starting up that's split off from the Andrews Internet Company. We go back to roads again. If you have a high-tech business where you're building a product and you're marketing that product, you still have to get those goods and services in and out of the county. And I keep going back to roads because roads has always been one of this county's biggest problems when it comes to attracting industry. It does not attract industry when you look on the news and you see a tractor trailer upside down in a river. That's happened recently. We have to encourage our leaders to finish the roads. The high-speed internet, as the demand's there, will continue to come. It all can't be done at one time. It's based on a demand situation. Thank you.
Our situation in Cherokee County, when it comes to businesses like that where it's high tech, the best place that I know of for high tech is in the colleges. Western Carolina and Tri-County Community College. And the reason I say that, it's getting to a point that these are the people that are learning about high tech. Me, I don't learn much more about high tech. I think I've already had all the high tech I want. But basically, having the high tech in the colleges is the most important thing. Now, the General Assembly is getting together the first week in May. That's what they call a short meeting. And that short meeting has to deal, with the lottery and the monies that they get in the state from the lottery. Well, they anticipate in the year 2012 and 2013 that there'll be $170 million possibly available compared to 2011, 2012 when we got $100 million. Now, a lot of that money, of course, is going to be directed itself to the high schools, the grammar schools, and the colleges, to help them with their programs, improvement, and so forth. And of course, one of the main improvements is technology, in the schools. And a lot of this money will be used for that.
Mr. Stein.
Well, as the others have said, it really deals with education. We have a great workforce here, and we have the capability through Tri-County Tech, which they have worked with several industries here in educating the different individuals for those jobs, specifically for whatever they need. The high-speed internet is great. I'm kind of roadkill on the information highway to some extent sometimes, seems like, trying to keep things going. But we do need to also consider our school system. We've got a shortfall coming up on our high school and grammar school system here. We'll have to deal with that. But it's schools and education is where we'll have to stress to work on that. And it'll take state money to help us with that.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, the question goes to you.
Like most of the candidates have pointed out here, education is one of the most important things we're going to have to move forward in. We need to tempo that up. And of course, it's going to cost the taxpayers to do that, as we all know, with the shortfall the school system's looking for. The Tri-County Community College, we here in Cherokee County are very fortunate to have that institution here in the county to utilize for those graduates, even in high school, to be able to move in to start their further on their education and hopefully graduate from some major university. One thing that would also, I think, would help attract business if we had someone coming in. As we all know, as companies look at Cherokee County, they don't just look for the workforce, which is a major role. They got to know if the workforce is here. They got to know if they got a place to train that workforce. That's some of the things that they're looking for. The other thing that they'd be looking for would be the communities. What kind of schools you got? What kind of recreation facilities you have? If we're bringing our families here to start a business and to promote other people to come here as part of the workforce, which I feel like we have the workforce here, but nevertheless, when those industries move, they bring a workforce along with them. And what makes it attractive is some of the issues that we made. schools and churches and recreations.
Thank you. And Mr. Dillon.
I'll fall in line like everybody else and say, yeah, education is important. Blah, that's a no-brainer. But most kids that are in elementary school can run circles around adults on technology these days. It's not that they have to have a whole lot of education on that no more. It's not a big secret. What we have gotten away from is the vocational training. We've got a society, a group, a generation that has no interest in doing anything with their hands. And we're slowly getting away from it. The masons, they're hard to find. And if you find them, they don't speak real good English. Same with carpenters, same with plumbers, same with electricians. Today's kids have felt like they're too good to do work. Can't even get them to cut grass. But they can run circles around you on a computer. So that's no doubt an important industry. It's not for everybody. We need to keep the playing field, as open as possible to everybody. Here's where I'm on an island, I think, from everybody else. I don't want no big 4-lane coming in here. And I don't apologize for saying that. Cherokee County's been on the books for a long time without it. And if you've ever lived in a major city and you want that here in the country, let the 4-lane come across our pristine mountains and you'll get what you want. Thank you.
For our next question, we'll also have 90 seconds to respond. We'll start with you, Mr. Ledford. County commissioners recently considered enacting subdivision regulations, which were praised by some people for protecting homeowners and our natural resources, but ultimately were compared to zoning and voted down. What do you believe is the best way to both respect personal property rights while also looking out for the environment and making sure roads are accessible to emergency services?
I was a banker for a long time, and I've been in all 3 of the surrounding counties here in subdivisions where I couldn't get my little 2-wheel drive car up there. And I am a proponent of ordinances, not a land use restriction like zoning, but I think certain land uses have to be regulated, especially with subdivisions. And I haven't heard anybody say in this county, but I know in some of the other counties, emergency vehicles won't even go into some of the subdivisions because of the way the roads were built. I'm sure, people are going to try to get up there and take care of folks as best they can, but, they have no legal obligation to go up there because the roads or whatever weren't built to specific standards. And I don't want to do it in such a way as to burden unnecessarily the builders and developers. But I'll tell you what, I know this firsthand, the builders and the developers, the people who do good work, the people who are proud of their developments, they would like to see some sort of ordinance in this county for subdivisions.
Thank you. Mr. McKay?
Well, I was one of the opponents to the current considered subdivision ordinance. If you read the minutes or if you came to that meeting, I did speak against what was currently proposed. I certainly have no problem debating that issue. There are some good considerations on both sides of that issue. Roads is definitely a concern. I believe we all have an individual responsibility that government can't protect us at all points of life. So I believe that there are some folks that drive into a subdivision and they look at the roads and they say, I can live in this subdivision, no problem. And I think that's your responsibility. If you drive up to the top of a mountain and you have trouble turning your car in there, then you should think about whether or not fire trucks and ambulances and EMS and all those things can easily get in there. There may be a subdivision that you can't get some of these vehicles in. I currently drive large vehicles in most all of the subdivisions in this road. It can be done. It is very incumbent sometimes, but I think we all have a personal responsibility to take care of ourselves and not ask government to take care of every aspect of our life.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, the question goes to you.
The subdivision that I live in is right off of Eden Road. When my wife and I first looked at this subdivision, we fell in love with it because the roads were wide enough, the accessibility was terrific, and I thought of one thing, you know, what happened to me or my wife while we were living there? Would we have an ambulance get up there without any problem? Well, it turned out to be that way. At first, it was a gravel road, but it was wide enough that 2 cars could actually pass. Later on, we got together, the company, the real estate company, and we said, well, what can we do, you know, to have an asphalt road here to make it a little bit easier to get in and out and not have so much dust in your house. In the summertime, if you like, I like to leave my windows open. And every morning I got up, I'd have to dust off my desk because all the dust were getting in from the gravel road. So what we did, we got the people that live there, the homeowners, to all chip in and build an asphalt road. And while we were thinking about doing that, it was basically, you know, for access for the fire trucks and also the EMS. Well, it worked out real good. And since then, it's been terrific. We've had a couple of emergencies there. They had no problem getting up in there. So what you want when you get into a subdivision for roads and so forth, you want a covenants, you know, with the people to know exactly what you've got in place for you.
Thank you. Mr. Stiles, the question goes to you.
I don't think we need to be too restrictive, but we do need a small framework of rules. I've owned property in some subdivisions that had terrible roads and some that had decent roads, and you know which one sold first. And the problem you have is that some of these places, some people get concerned about they can't sell their property. We need to have something to where everyone it'd be loose enough to where you could sell all of your property. I mean, we couldn't preclude somebody because he's on top of a mountain, because part of the land here in this county just holds the world together. So it all needs to be usable. We do need a framework that would guarantee a set of working covenants that would be in place so when someone buys in the subdivision, they know that it's working. They don't have to get out and try to get the neighbors together to get something done. However, as far as, you say, well, if somebody looks at it, that's fine, they buy it, buyer beware. However, around here on the 4th of July, you may look at a piece of property, and that's great. But about February the 1st, and there's been about 2 inches of snow or 3, and it's melted, you can't get up and down a particular road. So they need a maintenance agreement where everyone would chip in each year with their maintenance fees and maintain it. And also, as far as emergency vehicles, you know, we need to expect them to be able to traverse in and out to some extent. I know in some places it is very difficult to turn and get around, but we have an opportunity. We have a lot of subdivisions now that are already on the ground. I think we have an opportunity with some of them now to try to, before anything happens, to try to get a framework that will work better for the consumer.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Like most of the candidates here, I would support an ordinance for subdivisions. A lot of our subdivisions that we've had over the years, and I speak from experience, working with Duke Energy as one of the engineers, subdivisions where I was usually there first, checking the roads, checking the house sites, making sure we could get our equipment in there safely. That was a responsibility that I had. We had to look about safety first. Same thing as the county. They have to look at safety first. We have ambulances, rescue squad people, fire trucks, and they're all to go in these subdivisions for the people's protection. And if they can't get up there, or they're shortened for some reason to get into your house, that means the lifespan of the person they're going to pick up is shortened. Their house, their properties is all going to be shortened. So I feel like, as a commissioner, it would be important that the commission have in place, not ordinance, but some way of inspecting these sites. As Brian said here, we all know he's county inspector. I was in electrical business. We have contractors that build roads. As we go into these sites, I feel like it was all of our responsibility to point these things out, whether the roads are safe for the people that's going to be living there.
Moving on, Mr. Dillon.
In regards to the subdivision regulations, there was a lot of work that went into that document. A lot of folks act like it just started here in the last 6 months, a year, but I know it started back in about '03. and the previous commission boards just felt like now wasn't the time to do it, so let's push it off. And it got pushed off, and here we are 9 years later, and we're still pushing it off. I'm not a big fan of regulations. There's enough rules on the board. But as anybody that comes into Murphy and drives across the river down here after it's rained just a little bit and see that yoo-hoo flow going down from Clay County, that is a result of no regulations in a subdivision. Terrible roads equals erosion. It's not real hard to figure out, folks. We're not trying to tell you what to do with your land, just how to use it a little better. But if you like muddy rivers and you want to put the EMS people and the like Mr. Adams said, the folks that are charged with helping you when you need help, if you want to put them at grave danger, allow the roads to be built, steeper in the horse's face, and pat these guys on the back whenever you do see them out in public, because they do a heck of a job for you. Thank you.
Right. First of all, this broadcast is going live over the internet. It's been seen all throughout the world. Before I answer this question, I would like to apologize for Mr. Dillon's racist and closed-minded remarks to any Latino business owner that may be watching in Miami, or to any corporation that may have a factory in Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, or any of the many other Latin countries who we are trying to recruit business from. As a lifelong Cherokee County resident, educated, and proud of my heritage here that goes back to Fort Butler, again, I would like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Dillon and remind the folks watching out there that Mr. Dillon shared with Eric Rudolph the fact that he is not from Cherokee County. Now, to continue, subdivision regulations are good in theory. However, as I shared with you the 2009 subdivision document, when we had the meeting when I did my interview with Cherokee Scout, the very people that we paid many thousands of dollars to do the subdivision regulations, I will share it with you. That's not something I've dreamed up. I can show it to you. They said that the bad thing about zoning would not work in a county like this. Oh, I took too long. They said zoning won't work in a county like this because it will be under political pressure. If your last name's one way, you get certain zoning regulations. If your last way is another, you get other certain zoning regulations. And I wonder how these old people got up there to begin with if they can't get out when the ambulance comes.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the time is almost 9. I thought we were going to sneak in another question, but we're going to have to go ahead and go to our closing remarks in order to start the Democratic Forum time. Mr. Adams started the day with the first opening remark, so he will do the final closing statement, which means we'll start one down from him with Mr. Dillon. We'll give 2 minutes for each candidate's final closing remarks. Mr. Dillon?
In closing, I'd like to thank the Cherokee Scout, the Andrews Journal, the Cherokee, and members of the audience for attending tonight and allowing us the opportunity to voice our opinions and address the issues facing our area. Bottom line, the election comes down to trust. Who do you think will be able to fulfill their campaign rhetoric and grand promises? The ability to make sound decisions, be honest with taxpayers, and to treat folks the way they need to be treated does not require years of one type of experience or the other. What it does take is the ability to humble oneself and realize that elected officials are nothing more than elected officials. They do not have crystal balls they can gaze into, nor do they have the ability to satisfy all of the citizens' problems. And more importantly, they are not above the very people they represent. I feel that I possess the common sense, the sound judgment, and the drive to trim the budget, maintain our quality of services, and help to move the county forward. I would appreciate your support and your vote, and I don't need nobody to apologize for me because I stand by what I say. It's not a racial comment in no form or fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Mr. Higdon, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
I thought we were going to hold the clap until the end. Yes, this is the end. I hope it's the end for some candidates, because we have a bad enough reputation in Cherokee County as it is. We need to elect people with conservative principles that will govern reasonably. Did the railroad tracks not teach us that reactionary politics is not good for the county? Republicans are getting such a bad name in Cherokee County. Not all of us want to tear out the airport, tear up the railroad tracks, shut the pool and wellness center. Some of us know that you can't be anti-everybody and get along with anybody. Steve Higdon, www.gstevehigdon.com, business owner, conservative Republican. I'll be happy to answer any questions you got, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Ledford, you have 2 minutes.
Again, excuse me for not standing up. As a banker, I have dissected and analyzed the finances of many entities, including municipal and county governments, for the purpose of extending loans. I understand county finances. I have had extensive leadership training. I have a bachelor's degree in business management. I understand leadership. I have studied public school administration at the postgraduate level. I have a master's degree in education. I am a certified business education teacher. I have 3 kids in public schools in this county. I understand public education. I am a professional tax preparer. I hear firsthand about the concerns of the taxpayers here in this county. It's not so much the taxes that these people have to pay, or I say us. It's how their tax money is spent. It's the big thing with our taxpayers. Our county has a $35 million budget, but we have no long-term planning, no goals, no apparent vision, and I understand the need to plan for the future in this county. Finally, we must have people who understand the importance of efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability in our county government. We must control wasteful and unnecessary spending, absolutely. We need county leaders who understand who they work for, finally, you, the taxpayers, the citizens of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna?
I don't claim to have all the answers for the problems to this county. What I can bring to this county in these meetings are some honest debate on the issues. I pledge to look at all contracts before I make a decision on that contract. I've lived in this county all my life, and I care about this county. Is why I'm running. I want to be able to continue to live in this county, enjoy the pleasures that we've known here for years and years. C.B. McKenna, Cherokee County Commissioner. Consider it, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mitchell, you have 2 minutes.
Cherokee County, what a nice place to live. I have enjoyed it here, and also my grandchildren when they come up from Florida. They used to live in California, and of course a lot of people think California is really beautiful, and it is. But every time they come here, he says, gee whiz, Cherokee County is so pretty poppy. And I said, why do you say that? He says, well, the views, the rivers, so everything looks so nice and clean. I believe, in this county. And I believe in the commissioners that are working now, and also the board staff. They got a county manager, they've got an assistant county manager, they have a finance lady, and they also have an attorney, that is our county attorney, Scott Lindsay. And together, they're doing a pretty good job. You got to remember that when these commissioners came in office, they were all rookies, just like I am. And I know they're trying to do the best they can to make Cherokee County a much better place. We all make mistakes, and we can all come back and rectify those mistakes. But right now, I have a lot of faith in the commission board, and I want to be a part of them to help them make these decisions. And I believe a lot, in the emergency service, the wellness pool, all these mean a lot to me. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times financially, they just don't have the money. And we've got to, take care, of the budget that we've got. But we've got to budget the money in the right places where there's a real need. Like the Wellness Center, which I believe is one of the most perfect places for family. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stiles, you have 2 minutes.
The primary process comes down to this. Why should you vote for me? I have over 40 years of conservative business experience, having started, owned, and operated 4 local businesses. I've had employees, I've dealt with the day-to-day operations of managing a business, and our county is a business. And I believe my business experience will help us to manage our tax dollars more wisely. My accounting and business background will help me to better understand the budget process of trying to balance the needs of our county with a budget which we can afford. We need a budget which is easier to understand so we can see exactly what each department is costing the taxpayers. I don't know what you want out of government, but I want is common sense, cost-effective, and open government. I have the knowledge of having experienced all the many changes and growth that have taken place in Cherokee County during my lifetime. I'll be an independent thinker, but willing to work with the other commissioners and our county staff. I have the time to devote to the job and a sincere interest in making our county a better place to live. We need to work hard to attract more jobs while supporting our existing industry. And we need long-range planning so we can have a better and more productive county for us now and for our children and our grandchildren in the future. Your vote will be appreciated. I will be honest. I'll be for more openness and communication between the commissioners and the taxpayers. And if you have any issues or concern, please feel free to contact me. My phone number's in the phone book. Thank you.
Wrapping up our closing statements will be Eddie Adams.
I would like to first thank David and his staff for putting this forum on tonight. I'd like to thank you, the people of Cherokee County, coming out and listening to the candidates. This is the freedom that we have earned. We have, a lot of countries don't have. Be able to come and meet in public at your pleasure. I'm running for commissioner because I'm retired. I have the time. I have the experience. I've served on several governing boards for the county for several years. I've served on advisory boards for the county and the town of Andrews for many years. I'm passionate about recreation. I think it's a very important issue that doesn't cost the county that much money that we move forward with recreation. I'm very passionate about the road. There are many other things in the county that needs to be looked at, but I think I will be able to work with the current Board of Commissioners to help move some of these issues along. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Republican Forum for Cherokee County Commission. We will now take a short break to prepare for the Democratic Forum. Please be back in your seats by 7:30. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you then. All right, thanks to everybody for filing in. We'll go ahead and get